a lot of games in the last couple seasons.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to step back. I mean, I don't get to see a lot of Packer fans if it's not for Red Zone or the primetime games. But what I've seen the last couple weeks is the offense is struggling. And I think losing Tucker Kraft was a major impact because that was Jordan Love's blanket. He hit that guy a lot.
Mhm.
And I know there was a couple tight ends that stepped in last night, but I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it. I mean, I could give it to Philly's defense that's playing hot right now,
Mhm.
or maybe they need to tinker in and see what they can find. I don't think it's Matt LaFleur personally. It looks like Jordan Love is in his head because there was a couple where he had guys wide open
Right.
that he overthrew, or I mean, even when he was getting rushed, he was throwing to what is the running back's name?
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs. There was 3 or 4 passes that I saw that fell 4 or 5 yards short.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know if you could put it all on LaFleur, but they definitely need a change.
Mhm.
So if that's on LaFleur as the head coach and let his coordinator, do the play calling, maybe they tinker it and maybe they see what they can do.
I wonder if it's just the change of style, trying to change Jordan into a different style of quarterback. Because again, when we came into the season, everybody talked about Jordan's one flaw being he was a little bit loose with the quarterback. He was a gunslinger, old school Brett Favre. He could sling it for you, but he threw a couple interceptions throughout the first couple years of his career where he kind of left you, scratching your head. And I think this year, Matt LaFleur really came in wanting to correct that part of his game. But I'm wondering if that's not what you need to allow him to do. Maybe we need to just go the opposite direction and say, you know what, instead of suppressing this, we need to embrace it. We need to find ways for you to be able to roll out and throw it as deep as humanly possible for Golden to go get, because that's our fastest guy. And if you can't get it there, then you'll have one of the best pass catching running backs in Josh Jacobs right here for you to dink it down to. Oh, and guess what? He can run over about half the people on the other side of the ball too. So maybe that's what they need to do rather than just ripping the play calling sheet out of Matt LaFleur's hands. Because I agree with you.
Let the leash go.
Yeah, I mean, there have been plenty of situations where I feel like it's gone both ways. I think Matt has has called plays that have gotten them into games, and there have been plays to get them out of games. And I agree with you that it really just depends on the execution of those plays at the end of the day. But I just feel like there needs to be some sort of release of that leash. Let Jordan go be Jordan. Let Jordan go and sling it. If he throws a pick or two, that's going to happen. But now you have the defense on the opposite side that can stop somebody. So maybe him throwing an interception a game isn't that big of a deal anymore, because now you got Micah Parsons on the other side that's going to stop any offense from being able to score more than 16 points. And I don't know about you, but a gunslinging Jordan Love, I'm pretty sure, can score 3 touchdowns a game. Or maybe not by himself, but the offense led by Jordan could score 3 touchdowns a game. So maybe that's what the Packers need to do. I'm not 100% sure, but this wasn't a great look for, or at least in my eyes, for a team that, again, 3 weeks into the season, were boasting about themselves being undefeated potentially. And now we're looking at a 5-3-1 season, potentially should have been a 5-4 season. And you're going to be fighting upwards against a Detroit Lions team that has figured it out, a Bears team that continues to figure it out. And as much as we're writing them off right now, the Minnesota Vikings are still nothing to shy away from, and they could upset you too. So I'm not 100% sure how this is going to look at the end of the season for the Packers.
It's going to be entertaining.
It sure as hell is. And once again, the NFC North showing everybody who's arguably the best division in football, because all 4 of those teams I just mentioned could probably beat anybody else on any given Sunday.
Yeah, and I think you just hit it right out of the park, because that, I think, is the issue. I think, not letting Jordan Love be Jordan Love, and I think it's gotten into his head.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see it, and it's almost like he's double thinking of making that throw.
Right.
And I mean, in Green Bay history, those the same type of gunslingers that they're used to.
Right.
I mean, Rodgers, Favre, that's what they would sling it all over the place. But I remember watching Favre,
right,
and he would throw 6 touchdowns and 3 picks.
Exactly.
But the 3 picks were clear as day. He was just trying to force something.
And Rodgers is a special case, because Rodgers had the gunslinger mentality, but somehow never threw picks. I mean, we all know how good historically he is in that area, but I agree with you. I think at the best times the Packers had, especially with these 27-year-old quarterbacks that we're talking about, you let them be a gunslinger. You let them go out there and play their game. I think that is the best move forward for the Packers. Just look at Jordan. I have a meeting with him today after that game and say, look, bud, you're our guy, and we're just going to let you do you. We're just going to go out there. We're going to call plays that you feel comfortable with, especially now that we're most likely going to be missing our starting center and best lineman for the foreseeable future. And honestly, I thought both teams lost a key lineman last night because Lane's look
Oh my
worse.
gosh, yeah.
I'm shook that Lane Johnson came back out in that second half. I really am. But he's a tough SOB and played through the rest of that game. And obviously, we got what we got. The other thing that we have to talk about, because it was mentioned a couple times throughout the broadcast, and we saw the play a couple times, and we saw some more false starting, but the tush push. That's what all this game was centered around yesterday. You heard every pundit bring it up. This is the battle against the tush push because the Packers are the number one team against the play. And obviously, the Eagles are the creator of said play. And you saw it once again last night in multiple instances. False starting that's not being called. And then right down the other way, when the Packers have the ball, we have some ticky tack false starts. That's not a good look either for the Zebras. I am going to echo what I've heard from a lot of other people. But if we can't properly officiate this play, it's got to be removed. And me and Sparky we're both saying in the offseason, we didn't care if it stayed in. It's a football play, as long as it didn't get in the way.
Well,
But now the officiating is getting in the
it's
way.
getting in the way. And
And
that's the number one thing that Eisen's been saying. He
yep,
said, "Dude, I didn't have a problem with the play,
yep,
but if you can't officiate it correctly, then there's no reason for it."
no, there's no benefit to it. There's not, because again, it's kind of like the argument I made a couple weeks ago with the Falcons and the Niners game, the Christian McCaffrey touchdown, that where he was pulled across. Where does the line or the momentum stop with this play? Because if it's initial momentum being stopped and not the push, then you need to start officiating that as well, because many of these would have came up well short. And then we have the instances like the Thibodeau fumble that wasn't given, and now the fumble from yesterday. There's too many, I guess, just issues with the officiating of the play. There are too many things that the referees don't really know what to look for. And I still highlight it every time I watch the Eagles. It's the right guard every single time. Every single time. So you can't tell me that the referees can't watch tape and watch that one guy come across the line. Because it's not Lane Johnson. It's not the left tackle whose name escapes me right now, but has been on the team forever and I love because he's one of the best. But at this point, I think that we really need to reassess this in the offseason, and you most likely will see the tush push removed just solely because we cannot officiate it properly. Let's take a break real quick. On the other side, the Giants have made a move in their head coaching room. We'll talk about that. Plus, another Dan will be taking the play calling away from one of his coordinators. We'll let you know which one. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM.
And happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for your service. My grandfather being one of them, and going through all that, so I didn't have to. I appreciate that every single day of my life. You have no idea. But let's talk a little bit more football as the New York Giants made a move yesterday at their head coaching position, as Brian Daboll will no longer be a coach with the organization. I think we all kind of saw this coming. I was expecting this at the end of the season, to be completely honest with you. Brian Daboll, his career record with the Giants, 20, 40, and 1, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's 20 and 40. I'm not sure if he had one tie in there or not. But regardless, it's kind of like the college football thing that I say all the time. Your record says a lot about you as a coach. And although, yes, Brian Daboll won Coach of the Year in his first year, the next 3 have been absolutely abysmal. The offense, which he is known for, has been non-existent outside of some sorts of, some pieces this year. And although riddled with injuries, I still think he bears some responsibility for even that, because there's been plenty of opportunity to tell your guys, especially guys like Cam and guys like Jackson, who play a little bit more recklessly, that you can't do that at this level because injuries happen every single week. Jackson Dart is now going through concussion protocol for the 4th time this season alone. Cam Scattaboo obviously had the ankle situation. Malik Neighbors out the entire year with an ACL. It's not fair, but it's the way the cookie crumbles in the NFL. And unfortunately, Brian Daboll no longer the head coach with the team. The biggest surprise to me, though, is the fact that general manager Joe Schoen still has a job. This is the guy that we all saw on Hard Knocks just 2 years ago pretty much say, we don't need Saquon Barkley.
Dude's a clown.
Dude's a clown. We don't need Saquon. We got Daniel. We got the guys that I drafted. And honestly, I think that's the only reason this guy still has a job, is the fact that you can give him credit for drafting Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors, and Cam Scattaboo.
And which is funny is that the key point of that was Daboll, who has wanted Jackson Dart.
Yep.
And asked the team to trade up to get Jackson Dart in the late first round. And personally, I would have thought that the GM was going to be out before Daboll.
I'm in the same boat, but you've heard me say it. If you're going to blow it up, blow it up.
Right.
I don't think this general manager should be really helping you with your coaching search at all. But I mean, again, this is the New York Giants. And we have seen for the last couple years that apparently they want to compete with the New York Jets on who's the bigger dumpster fire sometimes.
Jeez. I mean, it is a intriguing job. I mean, they've got plenty of talent.
They do.
That defense is tough. You get Malik and Scattaboo, and you build a line for Jackson Dart and probably build him to be an NFL quarterback. But I think depending on what head coach is coming in, we might find a situation kind of like what we saw in Jacksonville, where the head coach doesn't want to work with the GM,
right?
And they have to make that decision on bringing in a regime with a head coach that wants his own GM, or they're just going to Band-Aid it and we're going to see no growth with the Giants. And I personally think that the GM needs to go.
I agree with you. I think that they're looking more at the Band-Aid type of situation here. And I couldn't agree with you more, Sparky. I think that if you need to do this, you need to do this. You need to blow it up. And I don't think Schoen has really helped you too much. I mean, again, I guess you give him credit for some of the draft picks and making the moves, because that is part of his job. But I don't know. After seeing that on live television and hearing him say Saquon Barkley isn't necessary, and the owner even looking at him and saying, I'm going to lose sleep if this guy goes and plays for Philadelphia, and guess where he went? I mean, we heard Jerry Jones putting poison pills in trades just to make sure people don't play for Philadelphia.
Which is awesome. One of our first texts said, who do you guys think the Giants go for head coaching job? It should be a solid job with the team, but the top of the guys that I'm seeing, I personally want Vance Joseph.
Vance Joseph would be fantastic if you can get him away from Denver. I'm not 100% sure if you can, though. Another one that I would look for is Benjamin with Detroit. But again, Detroit lost their kidney and their lungs last season. So I don't know how quickly they're going to be letting their coordinators go and talk to other teams. I'm not 100% sure. I got to really sit down and look at this and really assess where the Giants want to go with the team. Are we going to be seeing more of an offensive minded situation, like Sparky says, develop your young stars and become a super, a offensively stout team? Because I assume that you're going to be drafting at least another wide receiver in the draft this next upcoming season. Or do we focus more on the defensive side and really just allow that Studley defense that you have already to be the cornerstone of what could be a championship run? I have no idea which direction they want to go. To be honest, I don't know if the GM really has the right idea either. So we'll find out. But I mean, Vance Joseph would be great. I just don't know exactly who's going to be on the block really at this point in time.
What I heard from Canty this morning, he was pushing for them to go after the coach of Notre Dame. And
Marcus Freeman.
I don't see him jumping this quick.
I don't either. And honestly, Notre Dame has a track record of keeping those guys there for a long period of time. I don't see Marcus Freeman moving on very quickly. And really pulling somebody from the college game is tricky in general. I mean, we've seen it work out sometimes, but most of the time it doesn't. And I just am not sure if Marcus Freeman is the guy to really pull in for that kind of a job. Personally, if you're going to go that route with a defensive-minded dude, I'd rather go for Vance Joseph or even Brian Flores. Yeah. I think both of those guys have proven multiple times that they can be a head coach in this league again. And to be honest with you, I think that they're going to be on the short list during the offseason for people calling. So we'll see. But if you're going to throw out guys like Marcus Freeman, you might as well throw out guys like John Gruden.
I was going to say Bill Belichick. He's got a history with the Giants.
Exactly. Like it's a toss-up when it comes to the college game, because a lot of these coaches it's a great story and you would love to say they can go from college to win a championship, but the likelihood of it happening and the amount of coaches that have actually been successful in doing so.
I mean, can you imagine Belichick with Jackson Dart and Scatterbo?
Oh my God.
He would love that.
Honestly, I don't know if he would love that. I don't know, because we said the same thing about Numbskulls going to the Patriots. I mean, look what happened with Juju. Everybody said, oh, he's going to hate Juju, and he loved him.
Yeah.
So it's like, what does Bill love? I don't even think we know anymore. He's talking to the media. I mean, he's doing all this different type of stuff. It's crazy. The other story we're going to touch on real quick before we hit a break. Dan Quinn of the Washington Commanders has decided he's going to be taking the play calling responsibilities away from his defensive coordinator. He has done this in the past with the Atlanta Falcons. It has worked out, to be honest with you. But that's the question I really wanted to throw out there. We've seen two head coaches now take the reins away from their coordinators, as Dan Campbell did it for the offense in Detroit. Is this a smart move, though? Is the head coach being the initial play caller for their team the smartest idea? Or should these head coaches really just trust their coordinators to do the job that they've been hired to do? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's probably different from each team, but I think Washington's got deeper issues than the play
defense.
Calling. And I mean, I root them the best, but I know they're playing my Dolphins this weekend. So I hope it falls apart.
That's a good point.
But I mean, Mariota makes me nervous. So
really?
He's just one of those guys that he can either have a really good game or a really bad game. So I'm leaning on the bad game.
Is this in Miami too, by the way?
It is.
Or is it in the nation's capital?
No, it's in Dublin or something.
Oh, that's right. You guys are in Spain. That's what it is. You're in Madrid.
Madrid.
And you know what? Yeah, you're absolutely right. These overseas games, you never know what the heck you're going to get.
And you never know with the Dolphins.
Mariota could turn into Joe Namath for all we know.
Exactly. And you don't ever know what Miami team is going to show up. They could beat Buffalo one week and then choke to one of the bad teams. So who knows?
Fair.
But I've seen it with my own team. Sometimes it's better to get some fresh eyes and a different mindset. I don't think the play calling, I mean, there's been so much circus going on in Washington, whether it was the injuries, but I mean, with Payne throwing punches again and again and getting suspended again and again.
Mhm.
I think, I mean, he's the head coach, so let him do what he's got to do. But I think they've got deeper issues.
I agree. I mean, Dan Quinn is a player's coach. He's one of those guys that's a motivator, but I just don't know if taking the play calling away from your defensive coordinator is the right move right now. I agree with you, Spark. I think you have other issues that you really should be assessing in more of the, interior part of the team. There's clearly some turmoil and some issues and frustrations being mounted within the team itself. So maybe he should focus more on that. But again, as I stated at the beginning of this, he did it in Atlanta. It worked out for them at that point, and they were able to turn the season around. It was a better season than what they're working with right now, I grant you. But at this point, I don't know if taking that away. I'm always skeptical about head coaches taking away stuff from the coordinators. You hired the coordinator to be the coordinator, to call the plays. Let them do their job. Now, granted, you have final say on a lot of the plays and the play calling. I know guys like Andy Reid like to potentially call their own offensive plays. We're talking about Matt LaFleur in the first segment about calling their own plays. I just feel like if you trusted this guy to be your coordinator, you should trust their, judgment to be the coordinator. That's just my personal opinion. But I'm also not on the sideline and dealing with what the heck, turmoil they're dealing with during the halftime shows and all this type of stuff, trying to figure out the adjustments. So maybe Dan knows more than I. Let's take a break real quick. On the other side, we'll get to some of these other stories going around in the world of sports before we get to our guy 24KG, as we have a couple pitchers in the MLB get popped for pitch rigging. Plus, I have to get to this story from the University of Pitt. Their head coach came out and said they aren't even focused on the Notre Dame game this weekend, and he could lose by 100 and not give a dang. I have questions. Let's take a break. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. We are also streaming video on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
And I will remind you, if you want some Condors tickets for Saturday night's youth Jersey night giveaway, we've got a family 4-pack we're giving away all week. Just get your text in to 842-2000. We've got a couple that we'll get to at the end of the hour.
Sweet.
And we'll have Ryan Holt again on tomorrow to talk about the homestand that we brought to Henderson this weekend.
Absolutely.
We won both those games, right?
I believe we are undefeated at home still.
Boom.
They'll be playing Coachella Valley at Coachella Valley tonight, and they'll be back in Bakersfield on Friday and Saturday. You're not going to want to miss these games. Plus, youth jersey giveaway nights. Those jerseys are nice. Not gonna lie, this is some good stuff, man. They are the kings of promotion. I swear
they are.
They really are. And I'm telling you, if you didn't listen to our interview with him last week, I stand by what I said. We need to revive those Halloween horror ones that they did a couple years ago with the
dope.
black with the blood and the Jason all over the place. It was so cool. It's fantastic.
Breaking news.
I mean, we called it months ago. I think everybody kind of saw it coming after the trade, but Nico Harrison has officially been fired as the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA. Not surprising whatsoever.
The crowd was chanting "Fire Nico" last night.
Yeah, I think everybody was expecting him to keep his job after the Cooper Flag thing, but you lost the city. You genuinely lost the city when you traded away Luka. I get it. I get what you're trying to make happen, I guess. I don't know. And this is just being nice to Nico. You guys heard what I said when it happened. He's an idiot. But at this point, no one has to deal with it. I don't think he's going to be a general manager for quite some time, if ever again. And at this point, you could just blame, or you can, well, I was going to say blame. You can thank him, Laker fans, for giving you Luka Doncic, because that is going to be the cornerstone of your franchise for the next decade. And he's probably going to bring over a lot of his friends too. So we'll see what happens with the Los Angeles Lakers here in the next couple seasons. Because if you think this is the best you've seen yet, just wait. Just wait.
I'm interested on seeing how this Laker team looks with LeBron, and if he plays for the Lakers all season.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers did try to make a move, but I feel like he plays out the rest of his contract with the Lakers at least.
That's what I thought.
Now, will he extend outside of that and maybe play another season for a different team? We'll find out. I think
it's all in LeBron's court.
The possibility of Bryce James and LeBron playing together, I think, is always going to be in the back of LeBron's mind.
But probably not with the Lakers.
I swear to God, though, if he, I don't want to say strong arms because that's not the right word.
It is, though.
But if he, fatherly guilt trips his son into leaving college a year out of his career, I'm going to be upset. I will stand on this. Bronny would be such a better player if you let him stay in college. If he was still playing in college right now, Bronny James would be a better basketball player. He would have developed more. I don't understand why, or the idea that they put in his head that, you'll develop the most at the pro level. I disagree. I think every player is different. And I think that Bronny was one of those that probably would have developed a little bit better at USC or wherever he decided to go afterwards, if he decided to leave USC after his freshman year and maybe go to Ohio State or wherever he wanted to go. And I think Bryce is the same way. Let him stay at Arizona. Let him play it out, man. Let him develop at his own pace. If you retire, Bron, let it happen. That's the one thing about LeBron that I didn't care for, is that, man, you're turning into LeVar Ball at this point. Like, I get trying to talk up your kids and get them on a team and let their dreams, come true. But let's let them develop at their own pace, man. Because now Bronny is at the point where it looks like he may not even be an NBA player after you retire. And that's not fair. The kid's dream wasn't to play with his dad. His dream was to play in the NBA by himself. Like,
I mean, he has.
You're right. But you kind of stunted the growth. Like, there's still a small chance he could pull this off. But I think now everybody just kind of has that sour taste in their mouth of, well, you're only here because of your dad. And that's not fair. It's not. The kid could have been a player. if he was developed correctly. That all has
I mean,
always bugged me.
Cooper Flag last night had his career high, 26 points, 9 boards, 4 assists,
I
2
love
blocks,
the way this kid plays,
and they
dude.
still choked it out. But I mean, I was gonna bring up the Fire Nico chant,
Uh,
and obviously they beat me to it.
I mean, they at least they didn't have to lose on an alley oop in overtime on your head. Thanks, Miami. But it is what it is.
I know Pitts is gonna bring that up on Friday.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's one game in the season, and my Cavs look great. Don't you start. I mean, we lost Darius Garland in this game. If he came back, this would have been different. But I
I have
mean,
nothing to say. They beat my Bulls over the weekend,
yeah,
and
well, you guys are still
broke
up there though. We're
they
good.
broke Giddy's ankles on that play
Oh
last.
well. I mean,
I was like,
he
damn
does
it.
what he can. Okay, I love Josh Giddey. He's a fantastic player, but he can't guard and Donovan.
No.
Come on now, that's just a mismatch. But back to Nico Harrison. At the end of the day, I think this all just centers around Nico lost the city. When you traded away your star player, you traded away the heart of the team. No matter what you were going to get back for it, you killed yourself. And I mean, I think every general manager in the NBA could take this as an example and a lesson. Maybe sometimes moving on from that star player isn't always the right move. I know it sounds good at the time, especially with the draft capital you could get, but ultimately, if you lose the team and you lose the city itself, you lose revenue, and ultimately you just lose the owner's respect and their trust in you. So I think that's ultimately what ended up happening here with Nico Harrison, and the NBA is probably going to be better because of it. At this point, the Dallas Mavericks will now be looking for a new general manager and hopefully one that's not going to trade away Cooper Flag 4 years into his career.
Right.
Let's take a break real quick. On the other side, we'll break down a little bit of this baseball news. Emmanuel Clase, along with another pitcher in the MLB, have been popped for pitch rigging. We talked about this a couple months ago when it happened, but now we are headed down the pike of looking at the actual, well, ramifications of those pitch rigging situations. And both of these guys are looking at possible hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines. Not only that, but potential jail time too. This is the early bird special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. I wanna know which one this is. Ah, okay. So, for those of you who don't know, Sparky has, gone down the rabbit hole of AI music lately. Love it, and, I do too. A lot of these videos are great. I'm a big metal and rock head, so I see a lot of Linkin Park stuff pop up, like Linkin Park back in the '60s or '70s, and it's fantastic. All of it's really cool. But at the same time, it does kind of concern me because
Yeah.
taking other people's voices and using
Uh-huh.
it that way, it's
I
weird.
mean,
But
it's AI.
I mean, some of this stuff has been pretty entertaining. So I'm sure you'll hear plenty of those types of songs
Oh
here on
yeah,
the show for the next couple weeks because there's a lot of them. And a lot of the corn ones that you told me about yesterday, I went back and listened to
they're
and
great.
highly recommend.
They're great.
Very, very
And
cool.
I know we're going to get into the gambling story, but I have to throw out, veteran right-hander Kyle
Oh,
Hendricks
that's right.
announced his
Retired.
retirement,
Long
and
time Cubby.
longtime Cubby, and right into these. Was it Luis Ortiz?
Yep. Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase, the Cleveland Guardian pitchers from their native of Dominican, have both been put on trial. Well, Luis is the only one that actually appeared in federal court on Monday. Emmanuel, I believe, is out of country right now, and I doubt is coming back at all. But at this point, they are both facing charges for pitch rigging and essentially helping people in their native of Dominican win prop bets off of them. What these guys were doing was in the MLB is trying to sort this out, and I'll get into that in a second. But basically, if you go to any sports book, you could actually bet down on specific pitches. So, say you know that Emmanuel Clase will be coming up here in the eighth, you could put a bet down that his fourth pitch will be a ball. It's a really weird prop bet, but it is on the board. So technically, you can do it. What Luis and Emmanuel were doing was essentially they were helping guys or helping people in Dominican through bribes and a lot of other stuff win money off of these prop bets by, well, throwing pitches. So they would tell the people, okay, put 15 grand down on my first pitch of the inning being a ball, and they would do that, and the pitcher would then come out and just egregiously throw a ball. Like, I mean, not even close to the strike zone, throw a ball, just solely so these people in Dominican Republic could win money and obviously rack up more cash on the other side of it. These guys essentially threw away millions upon millions of dollars, okay, in their own contracts. Emmanuel Clase being the specific one because he was really getting to be known as one of the best closers in baseball before they yanked him in June for, well, the flagging of this, essentially, and they threw it away for a couple $1,000. I'm not exaggerating on that at all. They literally threw away their careers of millions upon millions of dollars for maybe 12, 15 grand. And it's absolutely absurd. But now they are facing actual legal ramifications, potential like massive, massive amounts of money having to be paid, and jail time on top of that. Luis Ortiz's bail has actually been set at $500,000. They're taking this very, very seriously, and the MLB has now come out and said that they will be working with sports books to essentially limit pitch betting. You're not going to be able to do this for very much longer. Thank God. We talked about it the other day, how these things can really be.
Prop bets, man.
Yeah, you got to get rid of the prop bets. You really do. Like it. I get people love it. I get people can make more money off of it, but it's a problem. It has been a problem in sports. And at this point, we now have way too many sports organizations, the MLB, the NBA, the UFC, all of them getting popped at the exact same time for this type of stuff. Sports need to be fair. We need to know that we're not getting cheated. Otherwise, it's all going to get blown up. I don't think these athletes really realize that.
I know as of this morning they've capped the limit to $200,
That's fine, but I think you
but
need to
they're
get rid of it
gonna
altogether.
they're gonna have to.
Hey, like you can't have these pitches, man. I mean, these pitch bets are that's weird as it is. It really is. That's about as weird as the coin flip at the Super Bowl. Do we really need a bet for what if it's heads or tails?
How long the Star Spangled Banner will be?
Why do we need that?
We don't?
Like, why do I people keep telling, well, it's fun. I'm like, look, I get it. If you want to gamble, go gamble your money away. I'm not going to tell you no, it's your money. But I don't think sports necessarily needs to be broken down that much for the betting game. I don't think we need pitch bets. I don't think we need the Star Spangled Banner. I don't think we need any of that.
If you're gonna lose money, just go to the Vegas tables where they can see through and they can take your
Exactly.
money
Yeah, I
anyway.
know. There's no proof that that's not a thing either yet. I will not be.
I won't.
I won't be playing poker until that is proven otherwise. Because if you're going to sit there and tell me that the mob are the only ones with this type of technology, shenanigans.
I think gambling
Shenanigans.
is just taking a big turn, and
It
I
is.
think it's for the best
Yes. Oh, yeah.
for the at least for the sports side. But I mean, this is getting ridiculous.
It is.
And I had fun with it for here and there for prop bets when they first came out, and it got old real quick. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll take Jarvis Landry for 6 receptions, knowing that he averaged 8 receptions. But the more I thought about it, I was like, well, why wouldn't a player have the inside? Okay, well, I'm going to tell all my family and friends that I'm going to get 8 grabs and fake an injury or pull yourself out of the game. It's just insane, and there's so many different ways you can look at it, whether it's a pitcher, really any position in any sport.
Mhm.
You can always find a way to win these prop bets.
And that's my
It's ridiculous.
that's why you have to you have to go about it in that way. You just got to get rid of them. I mean, I know a lot of bettors will be upset and be like, "Oh, there goes half of our funds." That sucks.
There's other ways to gamble.
Yeah, go back to betting on the game itself. Go back to betting on who wins. It's much harder for a player to rig an entire game than they are to rig themselves. And at
How do we not know in the beginning
right.
that this was going to be something that
No, I
could be that weird?
to be honest, let's all be fair. I'm sure there were people that were screaming this from the heavens
Oh
that this
yeah.
was a possibility. And also to be fair, there's no reason to believe that that would be a possibility until it happens. So this is just that part of it. We're now seeing the moral ramifications of these guys somehow cheating us out of money or cheating us out of the game. And I'm glad that these organizations aren't taking it for granted. I'm glad that they're stepping up and actually snuffing it out so quickly. Dana White immediately throwing out their guy. The MLB sitting here saying we're going to get rid of pitch bets or prop bets in general. The NBA is headed towards the exact same thing. I think this is the necessary thing to combat this and really just quell everybody's concerns. Because again, at the end of the day, the minute that sports become rigged, sports no longer matter. And now everybody's the WWE. And all of you guys who hate on wrestling fans, how far off are you? Let's be honest. Speaking of wrestling, we got to call in our guy 24kg to talk about last night's fantastic Raw. Our new IC champion, our new Grand Slam champion, the GOAT himself, John Cena, with 2 more appearances. We'll talk about that and much more. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. Early Bird Special Hour 2 right here on this Tuesday, as it is time, as we always do, to talk to our guy 24 kg about all things wrestling. I know I'm swiftly getting into this. I apologize. There's way too much to talk about, and we have to get into this as quickly as humanly possible, only solely because the GOAT has done it. He has finally obtained that final belt that has eluded him for so long, the IC Championship, as John Cena now becomes a Grand Slam champion last night on Raw, the way I predicted it would, although I did say what's going to happen at Survivor Series, but that's a completely different situation.
It seemed rushed.
A little bit, but again, I think it's because Rey is back and they want to get this whole Dom versus Rey Mysterio thing going. Maybe that will happen in San Diego.
Not enough time for a story.
Possibly for the AAA Mega Championship. But
they got Humpian.
We got to call in our guy, 24kg, get his thoughts on all of this as well. Sir, how are you?
Salutations and good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Oh, I cannot complain, good sir. We're a couple weeks away from Thanksgiving. It is Veterans Day. So thank you to all of our veterans. As we always say, we salute you and appreciate all that you do for us every single day. But talking about a man who salutes his veterans, John Cena, we'll start right there with the opening of last night's Raw. One of the best promos I've seen, with two of the best on the mic today, because I will put Dom in that category. There's nobody that gets a pop out of the crowd better than Dominic Mysterio. And we got arguably, or I shouldn't say arguably, potentially the final fine speech moment of John Cena's career, which if you're a John Cena fan, you know exactly what's coming when he utters those words of fine speech. So what do we got from you, my friend?
Well, I think honestly it was well put together. It does seem kind of rushed. Let's just get that out there. But you know what? I think mostly they're doing that because there's a sense of this tournament that we're having. There's going to be a preordained winner, which is going to, solidify John Cena's last opponent. Most people are saying it's going to be Gunther. I would actually like to see somehow if we could wiggle the way of Rey Mysterio being John Cena's last opponent for the IC title, have Dom take it off of him or somebody else, whatever it may be. But there's also internet rumors of Oba Femi making an appearance against Solo Sikoa next week. And, that wouldn't be a bad debut to show up in this John Cena tournament, end up making it to the end, taking the IC strap off of him. But that is a lot. That is a tall task to put on someone who's just being introduced to the roster. It would be nice, but I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. Nonetheless, the match, it's something that they could have plugged in at a PLE along the way of this retirement tour. It fit the whole criteria of one of the best speeches I've seen through John Cena's career, not just of this year, but just all the way around. I'll put that in there of the top 10 of getting people fired up. And Dom handled it like a true vet. He literally is showing that 20 years of experience with how he handled that promo, how he walked into the ring, addressed the crowd as the Mega Campeon, and just the foreshadowing afterwards. I don't know if you guys caught that backstage after the match, with Rey and John, which is why I made that, comment earlier.
Cody.
I was gonna say, I don't even think the pop was more for Rey. I think the Rey situation was cool, just kind of sitting there talking about, your kid's a good kid, he'll figure it out eventually. I think the reaction more was Cody when you saw
that was a little polarizing right there. That hey champ.
Yeah, and you saw his face go a little sour there for a second.
I feel like Triple H has heard the concerns. I'm pretty sure the upper brass of TKO has really told him to step on the gas with creative. A lot of people have been saying it's been kind of safe. It's been kind of safe along the way of how he's been booking this year. But can you blame the guy? There's a lot that goes on in that. We're not taking anything away or giving too much of. We're just calling a spade a spade. And progressively through the merger and the evolution of WWE TKO, this Raw product that we got last night should be a clear indication of where we're going in 2026. We're looking for high impact, meaningful storylines along with athleticism and the grande, so to speak, showmanship of mainstream entertainment. There's a lot of things that have been going on with WWE outside of just the PLE schedule and shows that we could get to later on. But they're pretty much spot on track for revamping and doing away with, as they say, the Vince McMahon style PLEs.
I was gonna say overall, I mean, it was better. Raw was better last night than the Saturday night main event we've seen
I
recently.
totally agree. I totally agree.
I mean, championship matches up and down the board. They obviously had to set the table for War Games on
Rushed
both
that
sides.
too, but it looked awesome. I
Did
was
they
pumped.
though? Let's be
Yeah, I
honest.
mean they've been
Yeah.
talking about War Games.
Oh, yeah,
but all of a
War
sudden,
Games
boom,
has
boom,
been
boom, boom, we've
rushed.
got matches right there.
Fair. I don't know
Yeah.
if that one was rushed, at least on the men's side. I feel like we have been boiling up for that side for a while.
Mhm.
The women's side, I will give you, that was rushed.
The
Having
women's
all of
side has
them-
been put together like grilled onions on a sloppy Joe. It's all over.
But
the
it was
place.
awesome.
Hey man,
I will
sometimes it
say.
works.
Yeah,
though.
hey,
I
that's delicious though. But I'm just
Yeah,
saying
it was
how we
awesome.
got there. It's all over the plate, and we
And
can
do
pick
we
that
have
apart.
Do we have a full team for both sides of the women though? I'm pretty sure that
Oh
both
yeah,
of them need to
yeah,
find one as well.
yeah.
Do
No, they could add one. They could each add
because isn't
one.
it 5 on both sides?
5-on-5. Yes, we have
So
5-on-5.
okay, that would make sense to me. I mean, the men's side of it, well, we'll definitely see that one. I think Liv
Ooh.
is going to be saved for Royal Rumble. I think she's going to be the return at Rumble, but I don't know. I mean, we've seen so much of her in the media the last couple of weeks that I wouldn't be surprised if they throw her out there somewhere.
But before we get away, because I don't want to get away from the topic you were saying with the other two matches, and of course in WWE fashion, they're like, oh, and we'll have to wait until next week
Of
before
course.
they find out. But we had a text that I saved earlier that said, I haven't heard you guys say his name, but I think Dolph Ziggler is coming back for the Cena tournament. And
There
I
have been
personally
rumors
don't
of
know-
Dolph.
I don't know who Dolph Ziggler is, so I wanted to wait and throw that at you guys.
I forget that you haven't seen Dolph Ziggler's work. He is a fantastic wrestler. Now
One of
goes
the
by
best
name
workers in the
Nick
game.
Nemeth. He works for TNA at the moment, but again, one of those
Is that
guys.
who's gonna fight Solo?
No, it wouldn't be surprising. No, because I think I agree with KG. I think Obafemi would fit a little bit better with that because we haven't heard any of the NXT kids' names be thrown out there yet.
Except last night.
That's fair. I'm sorry, I forgot one of them got thrown out last night, but there have been multiple guys that have been thrown out for these companies that don't work here. You know, your Rey Mysterio, I'm sorry, your Edges, your Dolph Zigglers, what have you, Jericho's. I would love for it to be Dolph just because there is a, much like Rusev and Sheamus, there is an underlining history there between Dolph and John Cena. I just am not sure if Dolph would get the pop of a Edge or a Jericho. I think both of those coming back and being one of the opponents would be so much more impactful for the entire final match of John Cena and what we could potentially be seeing. Because, I mean, whomever are the people that are outside of the company that aren't with them right now that are going to be jumping into this tournament, I'm not 100% sure who is and is not available. Because some of these guys have contracts they can't exactly do. I mean, we saw the Andrade situation obviously get thrown in there, but these things can get sticky with different wrestling corporations and who they want to be shown on different companies. So even though there is a TNA partnership, I'm not 100% sure if Nemeth will be throwing himself into this. I'd love to see him return, but I mean, Matt Cardona could also be one that you throw out.
I would
there.
prefer to see Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder, make an appearance, seeing as how, he's got a history with John Cena, just as well and as in-depth as Nick Nemeth / Dolph Ziggler. But the rumors of Joe Hendry being a part of this tournament, I think
that makes more sense because he's
that would
more
take
seen as
the
an
spot.
NXT superstar now than he is a TNA guy.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that. But was Nick Nemeth's it should have been me moment? Was that John? Was he talking to John at that point?
No, he was talking to Kofi.
That's right. It was Kofi.
Or it was Kofi or Biggie, one of them. Yeah. But it was along that
it wasn't
line.
John, because I was trying to remember what that moment was. Because if there's anybody that has had bigger moments on a microphone in the last 20 years than John Cena, it's probably Dolph Ziggler. He is
just as big.
He is just he's beloved by the WWE entire universe. I just don't know if he's the right guy to throw into this tournament, though. I don't know. We'll find out on Friday, though, because I'm very curious who that mystery combatant against LA Knight will be. And I can only assume with how these matches have been going, all of these guys are going to be people that have history with John.
Most definitely. I could
all the
also
way.
see Rusev making his way through this tournament, and we are destined to see a Sheamus Rusev rematch along the way. And speaking of that, Sheamus is looking like quite the guy to make
Mhm.
it to the end of this tournament. And how befitting would that be for him to win his first IC, I believe, off
I
of
was
John
thinking that.
Cena? That would make
Correct me if
great
I'm wrong.
television for his last opponent.
Wasn't Sheamus's first championship won the WWE
Yes.
championship off John as well?
I already knew where you were going with that one.
So
Yes,
it
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 was.
wouldn't be far-fetched. I thought the same thing last night, but some of these matchups, I feel like we're gonna get that constant question of which one of his biggest rivals is gonna be the last guy, and then it's gonna
Well,
end up being a new guy. You know what I mean? Like, it'll end up being, like you said, like a Gunther, which I would hate to see, but to be honest with you, it's gotta be somebody that he can hand the torch to. But the other part of this now that I meant to bring up earlier that I'm just now remembering, do you think that the IC championship will be put on the line with this final match? Or do you think he loses it at Survivor Series?
I would hope that it's lost to him by Survivor Series because at the end of the day, it wouldn't be a bad thing if he held on to the IC title till his last match. But is he really going to lose 2 matches on his way out? I could see one, and we get that title right off of him on that one,
Mhm.
or just culminated at the very end of his career with somebody worthy that we have not really spotted but should have taking John Cena's place. You know, it's or so to speak. I don't think anybody could ever take his place in the business and what his contributions have been to the sport. But nonetheless, for the time being, for a moment, because last night was all about moments. People have been wanting that match between Dom and John for a long time since he announced his retirement. And I think that in the fulfillment aspect of how the fans were satisfied last night, it translated on TV perfectly. They allowed him to celebrate. It was in Boston. Honestly, I would have preferred to see his last match in Boston, but hey, you're gonna get what you're gonna get from the company. So
And I was
I'm
even more happy to see my Kabuki Warriors get the titles last night.
Right.
yes, yes,
I told
yes.
you
That
before we
that was a
left that was a possibility.
yeah, that was a necessary change though. The Alexa Bliss Charlotte Flair experiment has run its course.
I
And
said the
that's
exact
what
same thing.
we've been saying that for a couple of weeks, and just the setup, how we saw, Charlotte and Jade cross paths last
Mhm.
week.
Oh yeah.
I think it's time for Charlotte to go single.
Yeah,
Again,
it's inevitable.
I think that both of them just would be a better or they would both be great singles opponents for Jade Cargill in her run. So, realistically, I think you're gonna get both of them splitting off and then probably getting in each other's way for that belt and, having pretty solid matches with Jade because we were if not, we would run into the same issue we had with Tiffy, and I say issue lightly, but Tiffy ran out of opponents so quickly.
Basically.
Tiffy ran out
Yeah.
of pivotal opponents that could actually take the belt off of her. And Jade Cargill now has the opportunity to have not just Tiffany Stratton come back to try to win that off of her, but also has to deal with Nia Jax, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss. We could see one of the most star-studded women's championship runs for Jade Cargill and her creation of, or I'm sorry, in the WWE's potential creation of their next biggest women's star if she does win against all these women.
I really hope so because Chris, at the end of the day, what I'm starting to realize with Stephanie Vicure is some things very similar to these title runs that didn't go too well of the previous champions that we talked about. The last organic women's champion, I feel, was Naomi, and now we are here where it's almost like they're giving us the Stephanie Roman version treatment of how she's being pushed, but I feel it's a disservice to her skill set for the matches that she could potentially be having on Raw with her skill set. I mean, literally, she has a very athletic repertoire of
Mhm.
moves, and we're seeing a safe, watered down version now, whether that's through design or working through injury or just how she's adjusting to certain opponents. I'm kind of worried that La Primera might not have such an exquisite run because look at how she's just outshining everybody on the women's Raw roster right now. Until we get her a legit contender to extend a feud or really bring
Fair.
something out of her, which we haven't yet seen because she's outclassing everyone. It's almost as if she has to slow down for everyone else to keep up with her when she's putting together these matches with them.
I want to see her and Becky personally, just because
Definitely,
I'm so sick
definitely.
of these Maxine and Becky, and now we're doing the same thing with the turn last night against Stephanie. I'm like, dude, let's just ditch these girls and put the real champs against the guy.
That's what I'm
You
saying.
know, let's dial back a little bit on that one though.
Jesus.
Becky with a right hand out of nowhere cracks Maxine across the jaw. Great sell last night. You know, they know people want to see a wrap up to this feud she's
Oh, yeah.
having, and it's really making Maxine just evolve in real time on television. Natalia's doing a great job with her down there in the dungeon and whatnot. Is everybody that has to go through the heart dungeon boot camp to revamp or reshine or resharpen your skills.
Liv Morgan
It's
did it.
showing. Yeah, it's showing definitely, and kudos to them. But definitely, we want to see a match like Becky versus Stephanie. Why couldn't we? But there's money on the table that we have to get to down the line. With
Here's the thing. I agree with both of you that Stephanie is running in kind of the same course, which is the issue. But the problem with it is I feel like she is going to have a slew of opponents here in about a week or two. Once we get past this Nikki Bella thing,
which is
gonna
crap.
have not only Liv Morgan, but I assume Raquel would most likely get a shot or two. Roxanne is also worthy. You got to take into account. I think Julia will be on her way over there now, just losing the U.S. championship. I think that's on purpose because Julia and Stephanie have had some of the best matches in NXT history, in my opinion, together. And that's not even counting Io, Rhea, anybody else that could potentially be coming after her on Raw. I just think that they're so focused on setting up war games for the women that they weren't even focusing on Stephanie's next big match. And you also, much like I said about the men's war games match, they've been brewing this Nikki Bella turn for weeks.
I was gonna
That's
say,
the only reason she's
you
been
think
there.
they add those two to the war games?
Wouldn't surprise. I wouldn't say war games. Maybe they get their match done at Survivor Series, and we get.
I
it
would
out of
hope
the
they
way.
don't.
I hope they do because I want this out of the way just as much as people want Maxine and Becky out of the way.
Yeah.
And once you get Maxine and Becky out of the way, we can finally get Becky and AJ. AJ can take that belt off of her, and then we'll finally have Becky back into the main event light while AJ takes care of all the other mid-carders.
I think AJ actually comes out next week to help Maxine beat Becky.
It's entirely possible.
I wouldn't doubt it.
It's entirely possible. But at this point, if anybody can just take that belt off Becky so she can go back to being a main eventer, I think it would be positive in this sense. But I genuinely believe Stephanie is going to have a line of fantastic matches right after we get this Nikki Bella thing done.
I hope you're right, because with the rumored women's call-up to the main rosters, both, we're expected to see a slew of NXT graduates slide through the main roster.
Yep. I hear Thea Hale's on a short list of people. I hear Jordan Grace is ready to move up. I hear Blake Monroe, or I'm sorry, no, Blake Monroe. I'm sorry, Mariah May was the other company. Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean,
finally
it's the
got
same
Lash
with the men's.
back.
Yeah. Lash Legend looks fantastic on a main roster. And that's the thing too. And I mean, we talked about it with the John Cena thing. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, we need John versus Sheamus or whatever." Let's also take into account a lot of these men that are going to be going after John for this final matches are also on the back end of their careers and will be most likely moved on from here in the short term because we have a slew of men NXT wrestlers that are just chomping at the bit for their opportunity to be on.
Do you know the age of the average wrestler on the main roster right now is set at 39 to 42 years old?
Oh, wow.
There is no one under 35 on the main roster who is receiving a push or being considered as how we've been seeing these guys right now.
Braun Breaker.
You know, well,
he's the outlier, I grant you, but I'm just saying
right there. But the average age, considering of your top stars, I'll go ahead and send that over to you so you can check that out.
Absolutely.
I thought it was very interesting.
Well, no, because you're right. You take into account Jey Uso's in his 40s, Jimmy's in his 40s,
Randy Orton,
Knight and Damian Priest both in their 40s, Randy's
Cody
in
Rhodes,
his 50s, Cody's in his 40s. Like these guys are all on the back end of their careers, and as much as we love watching them in the main event right now, we're going to see a slew of new faces coming up.
AJ Styles.
I know. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
That's why next year.
That's why I genuinely believe we're probably going to see a Dominic versus Ray match at Survivor Series, but it's going to be Ray's retirement match
Yeah,
I think we're knocking on that door right now. And as much as I don't want to see that, but I think WWE has more plans for Ray in AAA as the GM because he's been
definitely.
doing
You know,
fantastic down there.
it's taken him a long time. Ray has had a slew of really bad injuries, especially to the knees, hips, and shoulders over his
Mhm.
years. And this last one really set him down for an extended time off, which he's just now, I think, cleared for. But he's
Mhm.
cleared, but he's not cleared to compete. Until that happens, this really could be lining up for his last match. Not to say ever, but one of the
But
few last that could
so
possibly be.
throwing it out there just because devil's advocate, and we know that he's re-signed with the company, but we haven't seen him on television in a while. What do you think the possibility is that we still get that triple threat mask versus hair match against Ray, Dominic, and Santos Escobar?
Whoa, that
Again,
would be
if there's
interesting.
if
That would
there's
be interesting.
anybody on the WWE roster that we could look at to being literal like apprentices to Ray, it was Dominic and Santos. And I
That would
think
be
Santos
awesome.
deserves to be a part of this just as much. I know it's a father-son thing, but we've seen Dom versus Ray a million times, just like Jimmy versus Jay. I know people love the Usos, but I can live without seeing another Jimmy versus Jay match.
Well, you know,
Like,
one of
spice it up.
the rotating rumors that seems to be floating in and out of Raw over the last, well, Raw and SmackDown over the last 3 weeks that I've been tracking is Santos Escobar re-debuting in this John Cena tournament. He could
Mm.
just as well be Solo Sikoa's next opponent for this tournament rather than we get the rumored Oba Femi debut. Either way, this adds up some variety and interest to the show where people have been kind of dipping off due to either too many commercial breaks, which I've seen some complaints about. Where if we're looking at John Cena's one of his last matches, mainly this IC title acquisition that we knew it was going to happen.
Mm.
Two matches at critical points where John Cena was on a comeback or changing the tide or energy momentum of the match were lost due to commercial interruption. Now, if you don't have a VPN, you missed out on that. If you do, you've seen the match through its entirety, maybe with a commercial ad on the side, who knows. But we're having these issues now where people are openly writing letters, dirty emails, and comments to WWE about how they do not want to be bombarded with, I mean, just hella commercial ads during John Cena's last match. It would be disrespectful to the man, you know,
I
unless they give him the Goldberg treatment. Yeah, I'd like to
agree.
think,
Yeah,
and
there's
then we fade
halfway
to
through.
black. You know, that was
Nah, they'd never do that to John. Let's be honest. That's like doing that to Hulk Hogan. Like, I don't think that would ever happen.
like they would never do anything disrespectful to Bret Hart.
Yeah, well, no, okay, hold on now. Bret Hart made his bed many a time over in his career with the WWE
Hey,
before the screw job ever
hey,
happened.
man, when you crap the bed, you the one that got to clean
Yeah,
the
but here's
sheets.
the thing. What wrestler also sits there and denies vehemently or like just vociferously and just says hell no to dropping a title to somebody else without some sort of punishment? Come
Talk to
on now.
them AEW guys. They seem to
That's
be
what I'm
walking out
saying.
on
Like
the job.
you can't sit there and just say, "No, I refuse to do this." Dude, it's your job. It is your
Job, man.
job. Sometimes you lose,
Everybody goes
sometimes you
out
win.
looking up at the lights.
See, I that's the one thing I hope doesn't happen though. I hope John walks away with at least a win.
Well,
I hope John is the
he
exception.
would be the guy. He would be the guy to get the exception because
I
they
feel
did
like he would
no
be.
such courtesies for Kurt Angle.
I think that's why he would have to drop the title before.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Get that
agree.
out of the way. Let that
Well,
last match be a win. But hey, if it's a loss, let it be because you know he's going to leave everything in the ring. John Cena. One thing we can definitely say, no matter what they have given him over the years, he has left everything in the ring for the people, himself, his reputation. Footage circulating online of a couple years ago where they did a tour in Mexico where he played Juan Cena against
Juan
Wade
Cena.
Barrett, which was hilarious. John Cena as a luchador was some of the best material I've
I
seen.
really
I wish WWE would have released sooner.
I
These are things
really
that
wish
make
we
this,
got that last night too. I would have loved to
yeah.
see John Cena just put on the mask just solely to get under Dom's skin.
Or go up against Grande Americano.
Yeah.
That would have been hilarious. He just pulls the mask
Well,
out of his pocket and hits him with the "You Can't See Me." John Cena has become a household name. Nonetheless, the next Billboard action megastar out there who's really taking his retirement seriously. I don't
Mhm.
think after this, well, I know this episode's been John Cena focused, but the importance of what his 25-year contribution has been to wrestling, we've grown up seeing.
Oh, yeah.
This is our Hulk Hogan. So, without all the racist excerpts and incidents, let's
Yes.
pray that never
Let's
happens.
still wait.
Let's just
Knocking on
Still wait,
pray
wood.
that
John.
never happens with
Uh,
John Cena. But I'm really looking forward to what this tournament is going to be at the end, because right now I feel like it's recasting a light on people who we might have taken their work rate for granted. You know,
Mm.
these are for the guys who have been putting on like hell this year, and we're seeing it. And with a couple little sprinkles of surprise in there, I think WWE Creative have really backed themselves up against a wall in a good way with this. This
I
is
don't think Solo wouldn't be a bad pick either.
No, he
not either.
wouldn't.
He's got history with John Cena. He
He
took
does.
away John
Exactly.
Cena's voice.
Yep.
That was his
You know,
most powerful aspect in
I was
certain
thinking about
parts.
that last night. I was like, dude, how cool would it be to just throw a curveball in and put
Well,
Solo in there?
and it
you
wouldn't
go.
necessarily be a bad one to really pass the torch to. Solo has silently been one of those guys that really has been
Consistently growing.
Yeah, and he's been one of those guys that's every time he's on television, he's a memorable part of it now. Like back when he first came up to the main roster, he was silent. Nobody really knew who he was or his
Played the
personality.
heavy.
Now he's just one of those guys that you can't watch SmackDown without hoping he pops up on television. Real quick
Love the
before we get
attitude
out
and
of here,
growth.
centered around John Cena, and we were talking about how he needs to lose his belt. Let's say he doesn't. Let's say, is there a possibility John walks away with the workhorse title, which essentially should be named after him at the end of the day? But I mean, I know many have come before him that are bigger, but at least to that title. But what do you think the possibility is that John, like he said earlier with the WWE title, maybe he retires the IC championship and walks away with that one instead, thus completing that story?
I wouldn't be surprised, and I think it would actually show that WWE Creative has got some cojones on them about making creative decisions like that. Because why not just set up another tournament for a title? You know,
Right.
they're going tournament crazy right now, really sticking it to Tony Khan because he loves doing tournaments out of nowhere that are meaningless for a new title that just continues to
Didn't matter.
depreciate the value of his roster, like what they're going through with the class action lawsuit with the national title with NWA.
I didn't even
But
bring that up, but we're going to talk
yeah,
about
that's
someday.
right there. You know, hey, WWE can kick out all the celebrities and rappers that they want that boost their product if it doesn't fit their narrative. As you see what's going on with West Side Gun, they would rather choose Travis Scott over West Side Gun. You know what I mean? And Travis Scott's music is crap to a lot of people, but also a lot of folks don't know about West Side Gun and his contributions of being a super fan. Nonetheless, the attention that is on WWE right now because of this IC title acquisition with John Cena, this tournament, and his retirement could coincide with making a new star, which is something that WWE has had a problem with for a long time. They've incorporated people from different companies and different territories over the years, but when was the last time we seen someone prototype their way to the top as John Cena and that whole generation of people did? Really, when you think about it, Dave Bautista, Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar, and Randy Orton, you know, those guys
Dom?
really
Yeah,
shaped
nowadays.
all that, you know? So I would love to see him walk out with the title. Is it a possibility? Not a high one, but it's still a possibility. All you sports bet guys, stay off of that. Don't quote me on that. I don't need y'all angry emailing me if your parlays don't hit on WWE. Come on, you guys. It's scripted. But they do allow you to bet.
They do.
And this episode was not brought to you by any of that crap because they're not paying us for it.
Really
But I would like to see that happen. If he could leave with the title, that'd be a perfect send-off, right into the sunset, cowboy style.
I'm just saying.
But on the other aspect, a fresh tournament for a new IC champ, the John Cena Intercontinental Championship. Some kind of, you know what, just add some kind of note of all the great champions around the embroidery of the belt. They're going to do it like that and pay homage to the guys that have really held that title to a new prestige and helped elevate it. Nonetheless, who do you say would take it off of them is the question I pose to you guys.
Honestly, I like your Obafemi pick. I really do. I think that would be the perfect thing for the ruler to come in and essentially do what Gunther did. And we build up two massive superstars with that IC belt. It's the best way to go about it, and honestly, it's the best way to really look at who's the next in line to take over the company.
You
So
know, that's a good one right there.
I
Good one.
think Oba is the best shot, to be completely honest with you. But I would love to see John walk away with that belt. I really would. I just think John is too much of a traditionalist with wrestling as a whole that he wouldn't want that to happen. He would probably be the first one to sit there and say, "No, I'm not walking away with this thing. I'm not ruining
Yeah,
wrestling."
he's very selfless in that aspect. A very
Absolutely.
very giving performer. Speaking of giving performers, before we get out of here, my boy Drew McIntyre just started. Test photography and film. He's on set with the guy Henry
Yep.
Cavill filming the new Highlander movie. So if you guys are wondering why he was so hastily written off SmackDown last week for taking off a referee's
Talking about he
head,
was suspended.
well,
He was
well,
suspended, man.
he was giving the brush off. He hey, that ref sold the crap out of that Claymore kick.
Yes,
Give
they
that
did.
man a bonus and a vacation and a CTE scan afterwards. But yeah,
There's only one good referee in sports, and that's a WWE referee. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Those are the only ones that get it right down the middle.
yeah,
Everybody else is just blind.
yeah, yeah. Hey, the NFL, NBA, they need to hire WWE
Yes, they
referees.
do. Yes, they do.
Just
They can
saying.
take a punch too. All right, brother. We have run out of time. Thank you so much for yours, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
Most definitely, guys. You guys take care. Have a good one, and make sure you viewers like and subscribe. Early Bird
Yes,
Special,
absolutely. We
ESPN,
appreciate you, my
YouTube.
friend.
Let's go.
We're gonna take a break. This is the early bird special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. every song we're just sitting here waiting just to see if this is a real one.
I actually played this one because Sublime actually doing a tour with Brad's son.
Really?
Yeah, and they're doing this full album. I
Okay.
was looking at the some of the tour dates, and I believe they're playing in January
I'm in.
at Kia with Green Day, which
Ooh.
means I can't afford those tickets.
Yeah, of course. I'm in the same boat. I saw Green Day when I was younger after the American Idiot tour when they came here, and that was a lot of fun. But I also said the same thing. As like, that's probably the only time I'll ever be able to see Green Day because God, is it expensive to go see those guys? It's just like the Foo Fighters. I'm still going to be finding tickets to that though.
Yes,
I'm
I
still going to
gotta
be
go
fighting
see
for 'em.
them. And a big shout out to James who won our Condors tickets today,
Hey,
and we'll be giving away family 4-packs the rest of the week as we will talk with Ryan Holt tomorrow. And just to get through some of these texts, the
absolutely.
first one says, I believe Lane Kiffin will be the Giants' new head coach.
I love Lane Kiffin. I do. But again, we've said this about every coaching job that's come up, literally. Every single one, everyone says Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin. I doubt Lane Kiffin is coming to the pros. Lane Kiffin, I don't think really wants to coach in the professional level. I think that he's more based around college and likes the just relationships he can build down there. I would again hold any college coach at like arm's length right now for the professional jobs. I don't know if any of them are really going to be on the short list. I really don't, but that's just my point.
The next one says the Lakers are the real deal this
Yes, they
season,
are.
and even with LeBron at 50%, I think they can go all the way.
I agree 100%. I don't know about all the way. We'll have to see how you guys fare against the Oklahoma City Thunder here on Thursday. That's going to be a big test, but I agree. I think that the team looks fantastic. I think even the role players have really embraced what they need to do on the team where they weren't doing it last year. You see guys like Rui and Vincent and like just all of these lower named guys. I mean, I don't mean that in the sense of like they're bad, but more in the sense of you don't know their names as much. I think they're all really stepping up. Austin Reeves is playing out of his mind. If you guys can continue this and stay healthy throughout the rest of the season, the Lakers could be in those top 3-4 teams in the West. I genuinely believe that.
I think they've gotten better. I don't think they're anywhere close to the OKC level, but that's just me.
OKC is just deep, man.
The other one says you guys called it now with the IC title. Does he put it on the line for the tournament? If not, who do you think that final match will be?
The
Because he has to lose.
only thing that makes sense to me is he puts it on the line for the tournament. Because I mean, if he doesn't lose it at Survivor Series, if he doesn't have a match at Survivor, well, no, he's going to have a match at Survivor Series. We already know that. What it's going to be, we don't know. But if he continues to hold on to it until the end of all of this Saturday night's main event, I can only assume that that would fit the criteria of the winner. Because again, I'm of the thought that we're going to get John versus a new opponent. I don't think we're going to get some of these main like long-term rivals, although I would love to see a lot of them. I think a newer guy winning that tournament and beating John Cena would mean so much more than one of his old rivals like Rusev or Sheamus or, you know, Jericho, Gunther. Well, I mean, Gunther is the only one that isn't one of his old rivals that I really don't want to see in this tournament at all. I don't think he really poses to gain anything from being in this tournament. But I genuinely believe that if you have a guy like I said, Obafemi, who is a fantastic talent, has literally been a champion, I think, every single day of his, you know, career with the WWE and has just grown every single day in ways that I never thought he could. I think he would fit perfectly, and giving him the IC belt on top of beating John Cena would just be the cherry on top.
I think it'll be Solo. I think he gets his
Solo
IC
winning
title
it
back.
would be great. You know what, and that's a good point too. I think that Solo winning the IC belt will be great for his career as well, especially if you're trying to build up the NFTs right now.
And the last one says Packers will figure it out, but you guys are right. That division is going to be tight till the end, and
Oh, yeah.
I'm more worried about Chicago than anyone.
I think that's a fair statement because Chicago is the wild card right now. You don't know what Chicago's ceiling is. we all, I think, have seen the at least the Super Bowl-esque ceiling that we know of for the Lions right now with Dan Campbell. I think that everybody sees the Super Bowl ceiling with the Packers, but the Bears are that one team where they could have the same ceiling or they could burst right through it. We don't know. We have no idea how good this team can be because they're just starting out. So I agree with you. The most dangerous one in the NFC North right now is the Chicago Bears. I got one over here on the YouTube side as well. The NFC West media says, why can't they flex the Rams and Seahawks game to Sunday Night Football? Nobody wants to see the Eagles play after an awfully bad performance yesterday night on Monday Night Football. And you can hear Sunday Night Football right here on ESPN Bakersfield as the Lions head to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles at 4:30. Although I agree with you, I think the Rams and Seahawks game probably poses to be a better football game overall. I just think that the potential when the season started of getting a Lions and an Eagles matchup again, way too good to pass up on for Sunday Night Football. So I think that we're going to have a great football game either way. But I do agree with you. A Rams versus Seattle football game on Sunday night or even on a Monday night flex would probably be a fantastic thing to see on prime time.
So say it's probably better than the Raiders Cowboys on Monday night.
Yeah,
But hey,
yeah, that's absolutely fair. But again, we're talking about two of the historically most beloved, I guess, franchises in the NFL. Can we at least say that they're beloved by their fan base?
well, they have a big fan base.
They got
I'll
a
say
big
that.
fan base. They got a very, very big fan base that have very, very big mouths, but we will leave it at that.
Well, we'll take our final break. We'll wrap up the show. Plus, tomorrow, not only will we wrap up the BC Bakersfield College football season with Kenny and Rob, but we'll have Ryan Holt from the Condors joining us at 8. And we're welcoming back local comedian John Burton to wrap up the show tomorrow. Plus, it's waiver wire Wednesdays. So we'll have our picks of the week right here on the Early Bird Special.
Welcome back. God, it's so hard to talk over this. Oh, we miss you, Ozzy. Definitely miss you. Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans out there as well. Thank you for your service. Early bird special. One final time before we get out of here. One final segment. Your stories to get to, and you'll rejoin us tomorrow, 7 to 9. There's plenty of guests to get to tomorrow. The BC guys, and Kenny Calvin and Rob Chavez will be joining us one final time for the season. Plus, we'll talk to Ryan Holt from the Bakersfield Condors, and our guy John Burden, local comedian, will be joining us as well. Hopefully, make you guys laugh as we hit Hump Day. There's a couple things I wanted to touch on before we get out of here. Joe Burrow back at practice, hopes to return Thanksgiving Day. We mentioned it for you guys yesterday. If the Cincinnati Bengals can somehow get Joe Burrow back with enough time to make a run, I do believe he will play. Whether the Bengals will be able to turn the season around or not are going to be very much pivotal on what happens these next 2 weeks.
And that's against the Ravens.
That is. And that's going to be one of those games where you have to win. If Joe Flacco can pull off an upset against his former team, the Cincinnati Bengals playoff hopes may not be as far away as people think. So we'll see how that all entails and gets to here in the next couple weeks.
Jets lost Garrett Wilson for 3 to 4 weeks.
And that's going to be a huge, huge loss for them as well, especially on the offensive side where they haven't been able to throw the ball at all this season, as we saw last week, but still somehow beat the Cleveland Browns 27-20.
I don't get it.
I don't either. But I guess a 99-yard kick return really does matter. And those stats that your old high school coach used to tell you that 75% of the time you win when the special team scores, I guess that's true. I don't know. I really don't know the longevity or the statistics behind it all. But the main story I had to get to, it's in college football. And this is one of the craziest things that I've heard a head coach say in quite some time. So the University of Pittsburgh and the Panthers are doing pretty solidly this year, 7-2 overall, 5-1 in the ACC, and are currently trying to fight for an ACC championship game, which would potentially get them into the playoffs. They're currently sitting at number 23 overall in the country, and their next 3 games are super pivotal to that ACC run, including a game this weekend against Notre Dame, in which College Game Day will be present, and Pat McAfee and company there just to cheer him on. But head coach Pat Narduzzi had some interesting words to say about this next game against Notre Dame. I'm going to let him speak before I get my comments out there.
Do you feel like this is a must-win for this team when it comes to something?
Absolutely not. It is not an ACC game. I'm glad you brought that up. It's not an ACC game. I gladly get beat 103 or 110-10 in that game. They can put 100 up on us as long as we win the next 2 after that. But again, our focus is on Notre Dame and getting as many wins as we can.
So I don't know if you guys heard that very clearly, but Coach Narduzzi pretty much said this game is not a pivotal game for him. He's not telling his kids at all that this is a must win, even though this is probably the last time they're going to be able to face a top 10 team in the nation and make a pretty solid bid for themselves for the playoffs before they face, number 14, Georgia Tech, who has only lost 1 game this year, and number 16, Miami, to end the season and potentially get you to the ACC championship game. But he's essentially saying that they could lose 100-0 on Saturday and he won't care. That is a wild statement to me. And now I know a lot of people echo this as well, but I never want to hear a coach say we don't look past the opponent in front of us. That's a lie. That is clearly a lie. It's very dumb. Thank you, Shorzy. Very dumb. But to sit there and say that we could lose 100-10 and I won't care, you're fighting for a playoff spot, my friend. You have 3 weeks straight of ranked opponents, all of which are in the running for the playoffs as well. And you're trying to make a bid for yourself. And you're going to sit there and say this game doesn't matter? I get it's not an ACC game. It doesn't affect your conference play at all. I understand that. But do you really not grasp how big of a win this would be this weekend against Notre Dame, let alone the next 2 weeks against Georgia Tech in Miami? 3 top-tier ranked opponents? And you don't think Pitt would benefit from winning all 3 of those games? In my opinion, that's dang near an automatic bid. That gets you in the playoffs regardless if you win the ACC championship or not. You took down Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami in a 3-week span. But you're sitting there saying we can lose 100-0 and I won't care. What? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. If Pat McAfee doesn't go on his show today and comment on this, I'd be shocked. Shoot, if Rich Eisen doesn't bring this up today and say the same thing, I'd be shocked. Because I can't be the only one sitting here thinking that a college coach just said out loud they could lose 100-0 to Notre Dame this week and he won't give a dang. And by the way, that's on national television. You're okay with losing 100-0 on national TV because it's not an ACC game. I don't care. Pat, what the? Sparky, am I wrong?
No,
Does that sound wild to you too?
Ridiculous.
How? How is that not? If I'm Pat Narduzzi, I'm looking at my boys and saying this is going to be the hardest 3 weeks of your life, but it is also going to be the most rewarding 3 weeks of your life. Why? Because you're about to bid for the college football playoffs on your own back by taking down some of the best competition you could possibly have. But no, Pat Narduzzi wants to go to the media and say, I don't care about Notre Dame. I don't care College Game Day is going to be here. I don't care Pat McAfee is going to be up there talking about us on television. Come on, man. You clearly don't get what gets you into the college football playoff. I get the ACC championship would get you a bid, but come on. To say that Notre Dame isn't that big of a deal is a wild statement. I had to end on that. I apologize. Text in 661-842-2000 or leave a comment down below in the YouTube channel. We will see it. I will comment back tomorrow, I promise. But until then, we got to get out of here. Tag out for the great and legendary Rich Eisen. Thank you all for joining us once again. Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans out there. If you're going downtown here in Bakersfield for the parade, be well aware that a lot of the streets are blocked off today. Just letting you know. And go celebrate a veteran. Go hug one. Go buy one a beer, whatever you got to do. But give back to these guys. They're the only reason we get to do what we do every single day, and we love them for it. Let's get out of here. Here comes the great Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's go home.